Well, it seems like people have enjoyed taking a look back at some of the tracks I made for Racetrack Central, so today we're going to continue right along and hop into some speedways. Speedways were probably the most common of the tracks that I made, maybe tied with super speedways, but most often when leagues would reach out to me and want a custom track for their league, they would request a speedway, which is good because I feel like this might be one of the styles of tracks that I was probably the best at. It wasn't the one that I remembered like being the most known for or having the best memories of, but as we'll see today as we look through some of these mile to 2 mile tracks that I made, I think it was probably my most well executed category. Motor City Racing is up first, I believe Motor City Raceway. So this one's a really interesting layout. I didn't remember much about this one. All I know is that we go straight into a 90-degree first turn, which is usually a disaster, but on this case, it's wide enough, open enough, and it uses a mid-high groove with a pretty decent amount of banking, that it and its sister turn, number 2, actually work pretty well. And then when you're going down the back straightaway, you're actually going uphill a little bit. Just a little gentle hill over the back straightaway, leading us to a very open entry turn 3, pretty much mirrored through turn 4. And then it opens up almost like you're going to be headed towards a D-style straightaway, but it's not. You actually straighten out completely as you head for the start-finish line. Really an interesting layout, and I think we're pretty surprised at how well it works.
Oh, here we go. Here we go. Oh, this is interesting shaped corners.
Yeah. So this is one that I made for a league. It would have been somebody requested, or somebody was like, "Hey, just give me something unique."
So we have a larger scale kind of Nazareth thing with the hill in the strip. What? This is confusing my brain.
There's like the straightaway is almost D-shaped, but not.
Yeah. Well, and as you come off of 4, the way the car tracks out, but then it doesn't get finished. This is almost like a homestead.
Yeah.
Off of 4. On the outside, a good old DW here.
I do like that the racing line is kind of mid-track. Like it's a little high, a little mid, versus a lot of the 2K3 ovals are very low line.
Yeah. Well, it gives you like that Darlington vibe.
Yeah. Which I'm pretty sure that's the Darlington grandstand on the front straightaway, so.
There you go.
Yeah.
I like how this drives.
Yeah.
Like, this is a cool track to run. I really like this. You can't flat-foot it.
Nope.
You've got to have some finesse with the wheel and stuff. But you got long straightaways, so you get a little bit of your drafting in. And the corners aren't the same. We've got some unique shapes going on here.
You can do some setup trickery to make your car work somewhere.
Yeah. This is cool. I like this.
Not a fan of the line the AI take, but they can do
yeah,
as they
they're
wish.
shutting off a little too hard going into 1.
Yeah. But considering the name of the track gives it away that this was made for a league, I probably didn't care about the AI very much.
Sure.
But yeah, it feels like it would be a pretty fun racing track.
I agree. This is a good one.
So far, the ones that have been the best are the ones I don't remember.
That's a good or a bad thing.
Yeah. So this one ends up being an 86 for me. I was pleasantly surprised, and Billy really, really liked this one, a 96. I think that is pretty fair. Then we move on to Meadowlands, which is a track that has a similar style of layout. This is one that I remembered quite vividly because it's one of the first tracks that I put a ton of effort in for nobody else but me. Like, this was my own brainchild creation, and I wanted a lot of detail. I wanted it to be super realistic, and I think it pulls that off. You got like the Michigan style D straightaway and 1 and 2, and then a more indie but banked version for 3 and 4. It's again a pretty unique layout. I don't honestly know that this one works layout-wise as well as the previous track, Motor City, but I do quite enjoy the visuals of this one, and it's got potential. Yeah, I think this track is it's Mishindi.
Shindy.
Mishindi. It's Michigan and Indy.
Don't say that out loud.
Slapped together. It's got one of my favorite features on a track, apparently, which is a creek or some kind of body of water going through the track. But I guess it makes sense since this is a swamp.
Oh, but you have the D.
Yep, it's got the D.
Yeah.
It's wider.
Yep, so you got it's got the D. Don't say that.
It's the D.
Baby, okay. Yeah, you can really sail it into one.
Mm-hmm.
A lot further than I thought you could. Yeah, it kind of has that Michigan, California vibe, but then you're like, we can't have something that looks too similar.
Right.
We got to throw Indy on the backside.
Indy, but also kind of not, because it's so much wider and so much more banked.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, you got more bank here.
But you do get out of the brakes pretty good, versus that Motor City, you pretty much just coasted it in.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, this is cool. Oh, little fence touch. Touched your fence.
Nice wide groove, too, which is nice.
Yeah.
I just noticed there's like a little bump where you go over the creek or the river or the whatever it is. Oh, we spin it into 3. Oh yeah, three's a bear.
Yeah. Once you get going, you really gotta. Oh yeah, you got your little bump there.
Visually, this one's a lot cooler than Motor City, but I think Motor City might drive a little better.
Yeah, I don't know. I actually kind of like the look of the Motor City one, but this is good. Like
that one kind of had the like retro track vibes to me.
Yeah, it felt more like a Darlington.
Yeah,
this feels more like a modern track.
Turn 3 got me again. Oh, got me good. We have a little skyline going on over there. I assume that's New York City, but I also assume that it has nothing to do with how close you are actually to see that. I guarantee you can't actually see anything.
It's New York.
So this one I gave a 91, mostly off of the visuals, which I think, and realism, which are really good. Billy gives it a 97, which is as close to perfect as I'll ever be in anything. So, good job, past me. Now we move on to Nascar, which again is another league that requested a track. This one's got a cool old school feel to it. It is a small quad oval, so not the 1.5 miles. It is pretty high banked, and I really dig just kind of the old school aesthetic to this one. It seems like a track that maybe would have been being phased out in the early 2000s. I know once we get to driving the track that there's some references to Rockingham. There's definitely a good feel for that here, but the way that this track drives, I love the way the turns are banked, and it's something that I used to be like kind of obsessed about, is how does the banking transition into the turns? This one is pretty much, in my opinion, the how to do it. Like, this is everything right about banking transitions on a track, and I think that alone makes it really good, but the visuals are pretty cool too.
This feels like maybe a slightly bigger version of Rockingham.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking immediately. It feels like a little bit bigger rock.
At first I thought of the Colorado Pikes Peak.
Yeah.
But I think it's a little bit more like Rockingham.
Yep. So
there we go.
Like
it's cool.
1 mile quad oval.
I would say this is very realistic as far as the track design. Whoa, I sailed her in a little bit too hard there, bud. Oopsie.
Nice high line available here. I think low line's probably the quick way, but it feels like there's a lot of variability.
I like this. This is a good race track.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like you got a good mix of speed, finesse. You got to slow down. I'm gonna run into Bill Elliott. Bonk.
It's funny because I never really, I guess in the 10 or 15 years it's been since I was doing this, my mind has kind of gone to the way of like, I don't know that I really make great speedways, but I remember making good like road courses and super speedways, but history seems to be disagreeing with that.
So far, I like these. These are good.
So this one, an 81, which I think is actually maybe a little unfairly low, but the visuals are just a bit plain. Billy gives it a 97. He really enjoyed this one, so that's fair, I guess. It all works out. Now we move on to Pig Stadium. This one I remember making. I think I was really pushing my ability to make unique graphics. So I was trying to make my own props, I guess you would say, for the track. And on this one, I know I was using actual track data. So I was using the track surface and the grandstands and whatnot. And those are walls for the windows of the suites, because I still didn't know how to 3D model.
This is one of those tracks where when you're racing with other people, patience is a big thing.
Oh,
yeah.
Weird. I just noticed something really peculiar. I did this like little super high bank section right next to the wall.
Oh?
Yeah. So like if you get near the wall, there's like a little extra banking there.
How about running down here on the concrete?
Yeah, the concrete seems kind of like the place to be, but AI are not going
I
there.
was running above it.
Yeah, I just went down there to see what it was like. Yeah, it kind of bogs, but it feels nice. You get to track out a little.
Huh. I mean, it's comfortable enough that I'm running with one hand, so.
Yeah, honestly, I think the grip is way too high on this track.
Yeah, it doesn't really make you work.
No.
The only thing you have to do is just be wary of tracking out.
Yep, I just smacked the wall on the exit.
Prediction! Nostradamus here.
Feels like you would kill the right front of this track.
Yeah, you would really have to mind your time. So that might be something like if you actually did a race.
Right.
Maybe this is more of a tire management thing, which I don't totally mind. I typically do better with managing tires.
Visuals are cool. It's got that stadium vibe. I like that.
Yeah. I mean,
be very loud.
We do have ad walls.
Ad walls.
What? Yeah, that one's fine. I think this is one of those tracks that is not going to be great to drive by yourself, but maybe
at races.
You know, maybe right. I could see that happening.
This one I gave a 61, which I think is pretty fair. It looked cool, but it didn't drive very well. Billy gave it a 67, and when Billy didn't like it, that was a clear indication to me that it probably wasn't great. But now we move on to something that I think is great, and that is Chicago Twin. So this is a big project for me. Like, this one was kind of the culmination of everything I had learned. I started doing some 3D modeling. I had really gotten to the point where I could basically make Sandbox do anything I wanted it to do. And I wanted to take on kind of this big last hurrah of a project of making a track that overlapped itself. It certainly has its rough spots here and there, but overall I think I pulled off this concept of a track within a track, basically a track that bridges over itself pretty well. There's also quite a few of, you know, I tried. There was an attempt to make it look like it was somewhat in Chicago, in a place where there's no like reasonable place this track actually could have fit, but it was a fun thematic project, and I think it actually turned out pretty cool. If there's anything that's maybe not fantastic about it, it's honestly the track layout. I think I was probably so determined to make it work, just the concept, that I probably didn't put enough time into how good the track will race. And part of that is there's so much difference in the turns. So there's basically 4 unique sets of turns, which makes it really hard to build a setup. All right. Let's see, Chicago Twin.
All right, let's do this.
An oval that overlaps itself. So you remember what I was talking about earlier, how it does not like it when tracks overlay each other.
Yes.
You can get around that in some ways. Ooh, very, very heavy steering. Why is it so heavy?
Dude.
It's gotta be the setup.
I hope you ate your Wheaties.
Good Lord.
Oh, she's a little loose there, Bobby. Holy cow.
This setup is bizarre. It kind of feels right, but it also feels wrong.
Oh boy, that is. Houston's doing some funny stuff here.
Yeah.
Oh, this is oh, okay. Turn 5 and 6. Hello.
Yeah. It's interesting.
This is interesting. I expected this to be a lot longer straightaways. What happened, Cone?
Yeah, it's basically it's more like Dover overlaid with, I don't know, New Hampshire. It's two short speedways stacked on top of each other.
Yeah, this takes much more finesse than I was anticipating.
Oh yeah, it's not a super speedway, that's for sure.
Twisted says this would be spectacular to watch a race.
Yeah.
It's I honestly thought this was going to be a lot longer straightaway and more, not trying to be mean, more boring than it actually is. This takes a lot more driving than I thought was going to be available. This would be really interesting to hold a race on. Like it's got some stuff going on.
This is one
I've
certainly never raced at. By the time I got around to this, I was kind of done with the league stuff.
So you didn't make this for anybody? You just made this for yourself?
Yeah, this was just to challenge myself because I always wanted to do this concept of like overlapping the track.
Well, I give this an A+ for effort and creativity.
So this one ends up with a 74. Really, I think the funness of it, maybe the realism, is the only holding back factor there. Billy a 76 as well. Really cool concept, very creative, but maybe not the best track. Trenton Fairgrounds is one that I did a little bit earlier on. I actually rebuilt the original. This is a real track, so this did exist in the world, and it was, as far as I know, one of the only kidney beans that ever appeared in NASCAR. So there is a right-hand turn in the back straightaway of this oval. So as you're going down the backstretch, you might think you're just going to a tight radius turn, but no, you kind of arc off to the right. Unfortunately, the download I could find for the original was a high grip wreckers version, which means that it was just like super fictionally high grip. The later version that I did, which is this, which would have been like, what would the track look like in 2006? Like if it was updated with every, safety innovation and whatnot, what would it look like in that turns? And it, I think, ends up being really cool. It is a ridiculously hard track to race at. I don't know if maybe I made it a little too difficult as far as grip goes, but it's just a difficult one to manage. This is a tough track. This is I remember we did some races here. We actually did quite a few races here, and this is a track that will test you.
That is, I need a different setup here. Maybe Dover? I don't know.
Maybe. Almost Pocono, though, because, like, you gotta shift to third.
Okay.
Turns 1 and 2 are so slow. I'm just using, I think, the base setup. I think it's just deceptive.
I'm running out of gear.
You've gotta, oh, yeah, weird. You gotta slow a lot. Yeah,
no wall in the pits is a choice.
I didn't put a wall in the pits, which is not a very good update for me. Although a lot of tracks didn't have walls on the pits for quite some time.
Oh, this is like learning NASCAR racing 2003 for the first time. There's just no bite to the track whatsoever. You got to really float the car in.
The main memory I had of this place is that it is just brutally difficult. I mean, who would have thought that putting a right-hand dog leg in a straightaway would make the turns really difficult? Like, the right-hander is nonsensical. Like, it's just like any other dog leg. But what it does to the radius of the turns is unlike anything else.
Yeah.
Judging something like this that's more realistic is a little hard. I give it a 67 just because it wasn't super fun, to be honest. Billy, really not a big fan of that at 63, and I think that's just mostly due to the concept of the track. Similarly, Twin Ring Motegi is another real track that I made in collaboration with a good group of other people. This is not a project I could have undertaken on my own. So this is 100% crafted through satellite imagery, through photographic, reference and stuff like that. There's quite a few things 3D modeled for this. I know I had quite a few people that were helping me with that stuff, but this was a huge undertaking. This is probably the longest project that I ever took part in as far as something for 2K3 goes, and it was something that was super hotly requested. A lot of people wanted this track because it was kind of fresh in people's minds, those Japanese exhibition races that NASCAR did, and I think it came out really well. Like, honestly, this is a well-constructed version of the track. I don't really see a lot of flaws with it. It's neat that the track still exists and it's in more modern games, but really this was probably one of the first representations of it in a video game that you could find.
Hey, this is all right.
So
this
yeah,
is good.
I put a ton of work into this to make it, realistic.
Yeah.
But the problem is, it's not a very good track. It's not.
It's.
Not,
yeah, and if
not
anybody has
the best.
Go ahead.
Just the actual layout of the track, I think, just is kind of anti-racing. Like, it's fine to lap, but you don't want to actually try to race here. You don't want to try to pass people here. Too flat. Too much straightaway, not enough turn. Like, they had to go one way or the other. They either had to make the turns bigger radius and stay with this banking, or go higher banking with this radius.
The way this track is, it's almost like a Darlington. The problem is it doesn't have the character of a Darlington.
Right.
It still tries to be more modern. So it kind of just exists.
Yeah.
And I've always wanted to like this track. Like, I really have. I've always wanted to like it, but it's kind of like New Hampshire in a way.
Mm-hmm.
Still think they should have left the road course, but that's a whole other thing.
Yeah, road course was really good. Like, the road course had good sections to it. Looking back in history, I wish I had made the road course, not the oval. But at the time, like, this is pretty close to the era that they did those races, so people wanted this. Like, people wanted this track. And I don't know, does iRacing have the oval? I'm not sure.
This?
Yeah. Do they have Twin Ring mode?
Yeah.
Yeah. They have the oval?
Yeah. Yeah, I'm pretty sure they do.
I've never tried
like
it, so I guess I should load it up one day just to see how off I was, Doing things off a satellite image is... You can get good, but you can't get laser scan good.
Yeah, I don't think this is that far off.
So I end up giving it a 78, mostly just because it's just not a great track in real life, which is maybe not fair to me to judge it that way, and Billy, similarly, a 77. So that's a pretty good selection of the speedways that I made for NASCAR 2003. Thank you to everybody that reached out in the last video. It's been fun reading people's comments about their history with the tracks, or just, a lot of history that I didn't really get to know. Like I said, I didn't get a lot of feedback about the stuff I made back in the day. There wasn't really a big conjoined community at the time, so if people were enjoying the stuff that I was making, I just kind of had to guess based off of download numbers. That's all I had. It would be like YouTube without any comment system. So it's really fun for me to see that people enjoyed the stuff back then, and even years after I had stopped doing anything, people continued to find the stuff and enjoy it. That's really neat. I've actually now found a few more of them. I actually found Pig's Peak, which is another speedway that I made that I really enjoyed. And of course, we've got those super speedways out there to try out someday as well as some short tracks. And I'm enjoying this look back to the past enough that I will probably do it either way. I'm probably going to go back and give these other projects a look at, because I don't remember a lot of them, and that's really fun.